Welcome back to the Mind Goals podcast, hosted by yours truly, Siobhan Higgins, sport and performance psychology consultant, yoga instructor, and professional soccer player. Today, I am honored to have my dad number 2 as a guest today, who is also a chemical engineer and U.S. soccer national referee coach. Welcome, Mr. Harlan Matthews.
Hi, Siobhan. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Doing good. Doing good.
Well, I'm really happy to have you here today and get to know more about the ins and outs of you being a referee coach and hopefully give some insight to referees and soccer, by the way. I don't know if I mentioned that. So football, soccer. Hopefully give some insight to those who are pursuing a path in reffing.
Absolutely.
I like to begin my episodes with how we met or how I know you. And so I'm going to give my point of view and then you can give your point of view because the stories are different.
Okay.
But for all of you to know, I believe we met when I was 14. Yeah, so I'm 28 now, about 14 years ago. I think that's a good guesstimate.
That's a good guesstimate, yeah.
And it was on the Katy Park soccer fields. And I was refereeing. And I thought my first encounter with you was when, this was like my first year reffing soccer. Also, people who don't know, I did referee soccer. I am not currently an active member, but I ref for about 7 years. And it was my first job. I was 14 and I was reffing on a field. I did not have an appropriate timekeeping device. And so I was using, that's what I'm going to call it. I was using my phone. And I remember a big scary man coming up to me at halftime asking, what are you keeping track of time on? And I was like, my phone. He goes, okay, do you have a watch? And I was like, no, in my head, no, that's why I'm using my phone. And he's like, do you have a timekeeper, a stopwatch? And I was like, no, but that would be actually great to use. And then you handed me a stopwatch and you said, you will use this. I don't think it was a question. Do you want to use it? It was, you will use this. And I thought, okay, thanks. Well, who's this big scary man watching me? And then you watched like from afar. And so then I felt like I was being assessed, which maybe I was, or just someone sent you to watch me as a referee. But that is my first encounter with you.
Okay. So let me correct the record on that one.
Okay.
So I believe the first time it was at Katy Park.
Okay.
And so I was out there doing a field session and David Oram was helping me out with that. And we were going to do some running around and, the two teams are scrimmaging each other and stuff like that. And we needed a volunteer from the referees. And he said, nobody wanted to volunteer. And David pointed to you and said, hey, Siobhan will do it. I was like, okay, there's a freshman looking person from high school, and off we went and had a good time at that. But let me go back to the phone thing. Mm-hmm. Maybe there was a second incident on that one, because later on when you were 17 or 18, I think you were a junior or senior in high school at that point.
Yeah, junior.
Linda found you at another set of fields and you had your phone. Okay. And she sent you over to me on like a Friday night. And she's like, you came up to me all sad looking. You had your phone in your hand. And you go, Linda says I can't use my phone. What can I use? So I gave you one of my watches, because I always have 2 watches as a referee in case one of the battery goes bad. So I gave you one of my watches and then you brought it back to me afterwards. So, yeah.
Well,
that's the phone. That's the watch one. But then it gets even better.
Okay.
Because that's when you went off to ODP. And I had told you need to get 2 watches. You need to get 2 watches. So you go to ODP, and then I get a text message or a call from you or something like that. This guy named Manny's upset with me because I've got watches. I was like, Siobhan, what color are your watches? She goes, they're pink.
Yeah, I think they were both pink, right?
Yeah, they're both pink. I was like, you're supposed to get black. That's what the referees use. She's like, oh, no, I got pink. So then I had to call Manny Jr. and say, hey, Manny Jr., kind of relax a little bit. She's learning. And that's when he made the comment, I would put her on an SEC AR immediately. She is that good, but she's got to get black watches. So, yeah.
Well, that's funny. Yeah. I do remember that part. And for those of you who don't know, ODP stands for Olympic Development Program within they do it for, I think, any sport, but there also is a program for referees as well. And that was in Alabama. Yeah, and I remember that. And I did end up getting black watches, and it's great to have more than one. And I did have my pink one as a backup, just in case. But funny story, and the details matter.
Yep.
People will come to find that out, especially if you are a referee and pursuing this as a career. So Harlan, ever since, has really been like a second dad. He's been like a father figure to me, very reliable, really great with advice, whether it was referee advice or life advice. You know, there's a reason you're sitting on the couch here today. And so I'm thankful that you're here today, and I'm excited for other people to get to hear your insight.
Absolutely.
And then I did mention at the beginning that you're a chemical engineer, and this is very important detail because it just, like, my first question is really about your routine. And it shocked me because I care a lot about the mindset. And from when I first learned, I think you sent me an email at 4:30 in the morning, and I'm thinking, why am I getting an email so early? And that's how you start your day, really early. And then the way that your emails are structured, it just screams engineer now. But yeah, and you respond so quickly. And so a lot of those things led me to believe that you were maybe a military kid or you were in the military, but no, just very structured engineer.
Very structured engineer. I get up at 3:30 and check my emails, answer very important emails that need to be answered. And I try to answer them within 24 hours. Sometimes that gets extended a little bit, but I try to get an answer back to somebody in that time period. And then about 4 o'clock or so, I head off to the gym to work out so I can be ready to work at 6 o'clock in the morning.
Oh gosh, I thought you were going to say 6 o'clock at night for your second shift.
That is when the second shift starts. So after this, yes, I will be going home to debrief a professional referee and then write up the assessment tonight. So yeah, cool. The second shift.
Yeah, the second shift, or basically second career. So yeah, I don't know how you find, it's still a question to me today. I don't know how you find all the time to do everything you do. But again, I love to interview people that are high performing individuals. And I would consider you definitely one of those who's very successful in what you do. First question is, can you tell us about your journey to becoming a national referee coach?
Oh, so, first, of course, is you become a referee. So I went through all the referee stages and got to the final couple years of my national referee career. And, at that point...
Question.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I normally do not cut people off, but just for the sake of people who might not know what the path looks like, could you name like the levels?
Oh, yeah. At that point, you start as a referee, as a grade 8 referee, and you kind of work your way for a couple years, getting your game count mainly, and making sure that you're building a portfolio and background of games behind you where you're learning from them. And that's when I moved to New Orleans, and they recognized right away that there was a potential in me. So I moved to grade 7 referee by being assessed on a match. It wasn't an easy match either. They picked 2 difficult teams in the amateur league and said, good luck.
Yeah.
And I still remember them. It was Boca Juniors versus Acadiana, and the teams didn't like each other, and Boca showed up with only 7 players, got to 9, still won the game over Acadiana. It was a very interesting match, but it was good for me to develop and get my grade 7.
Okay.
And then once you stay there for a year, and once again, you're building your game count, and then you move to a grade 6 referee. Once you passed your assessments, you stayed there for another year, working on your game count and working on your development. Then you get to grade 5, and you're there for 2 years, working on your game count, making sure you're getting your top amateur games, working a couple professional matches, pass your assessments, and then you become a national referee. That's all now changed. Now it's, referee, then you go to regional referee, then you go to national referee. If you're getting your game count, you're passing your tests, and you're passing your assessments. But after 4 years of being a national referee, well, inside that time frame, wonderful man named Bob Wirtz. Anybody inside of U.S. soccer knows who Bob Wirtz is. He's out of Louisiana, but great mentor to a lot of people, and a great person that developed referees and developed them for their next careers, recognized in me that I could become an assessor one day. So as a national referee, I could automatically become a state assessor.
Okay.
So I went to the class with Freddie Usher there as the instructor, and started to build my resume of assessing. And at the end of my national referee career, I decided, I wasn't going to be able to make it all the way to the top. There was a lot of injuries. Every time I'd get injured, it's another month to get ready, to get prepared, to get back on the horse again and stuff like that. I was like, I'm done. I was done physically. It wasn't working with my work. It wasn't working with my family. That's when the girls were really small, 5, 3, and 1. So, really tough on that part too. So I decided to back off. And as soon as I sent the email, I received an email from a guy named David McKee, who's like the godfather of all the assessors. And he sent me a note saying, hey, I need you to become a state assessor so you can become a national assessor. Respond back within 24 hours. David, I'm already a state assessor. He goes, okay, good. You're going to the finals in Seattle in August. Put that on your calendar, and we're going to teach you to be a national assessor. And it's really since 2008 time period. That's kind of where I've been just kind of moving right along. Really enjoy coaching people and mentoring people and seeing them develop from. I still remember seeing Natalie Simon, and Natalie, don't cry when you hear this, but seeing her as a grade 8 referee, as an AR in Arkansas, and then today she is a FIFA referee. And just seeing that progression of each of those referees, but that's just one that kind of sticks out, and you just know when you see them, and you know it's going to take years and years and years for them to develop to the ultimate level that they can get to.
That's cool. It is a very fulfilling feeling. Yeah. Wow. I know. I was thinking, when we met, I was a referee. I call myself inactive right now. There's still a chance. I would still like to do it. But I chose to pursue soccer professionally and playing instead of the referee route. But there are so many barriers, and there's more than just reffing games behind it. But this is why I want to ask more questions. So thank you for telling us your path to it. And so you've been a national referee assessor. And so people, for those who don't know, referees do get assessed. They do get, what would we call it? I mean, obviously critiqued, but the way that I describe it to anyone who doesn't know is that imagine someone, nice, friendly man like Harlan, is watching your game, taking notes for the entire duration. And at halftime, do you give a debrief, or now not at the pro level?
So next week I'll be at the USY Championships.
Okay.
So we'll be assigned to an individual match in person.
Okay.
And so if there's something we can correct at halftime, not foul recognition, not misconduct recognition, but a positioning on the field or a movement that they could make or something like that, we will talk to them at halftime. But then we really wait for the end of the game, and then we sit down and we have a great discussion for 15, 20. We try to target for 20 minutes, but then we'll ask them, hey, do you want to talk some more? And then we open up our notebooks and say, because I got all these notes, guess what? And if the referees are ready and they feel refreshed and they're ready to go, we keep going. Or we say, hey, we'll take a break and come find me at dinner tonight. Yeah. And we sit down at dinner after they've had a chance to take a shower and get cleaned up and recover. We have more discussions then. So, okay. And I want to, a big shout out to USY and everything that they do for referees and doing. So there's 20, 30, 40 of us national coaches and former professional referees and current professional referees that'll be in Orlando with the championship next week. Awesome. Giving that feedback to the referees. So the great work that Ryan Sigich does and the great work that Skip does as a CEO of USY, I can't complain. That they're doing a fantastic job of preparing the next level referees. Good.
And I love that to hear, obviously, as a sports psychology advocate, because referees are athletes. And to be honest, I didn't know that until I became a referee. And I was running around thinking it's going to be easy. I play soccer. No, you're in the midfield. Think about how much a midfielder is running. That you're probably going to run the same. And you got to be fit to keep up with them. And then the decision making is a whole nother thing. So you're doing a whole lot. It's a very high pressure job. And so I do appreciate that we're developing referees and that we have coaches like you and that they're being supplied with the resources. That makes me happy.
Good.
So shout out to them as well.
Yep.
Next question is, so more about your roles and responsibilities. So can you run me through a day in the life of Harlan Matthews as an assessor? So what you mentioned you're going to get on a call with a referee and I guess give a debrief, or you're going to watch a game, take notes. What does that look like for you?
So normal Monday through Friday is, workout, 6 o'clock. I'm doing my normal work for my chemical company. Mm-hmm. I get off at 4, 5, 6 o'clock whenever my calls end for the day. Quick dinner, check in with the family, and then I'm upstairs doing one of 3 different roles. So I am a national referee coach for U.S. Soccer. Mm-hmm. So I may be doing a video assessment or a feedback to a referee. Okay. I also worked for a pro as a pro assessor, and that's what I'll be doing tonight is the debrief with the pro assessor from a USL 1 match. But I also work for NYSOA as the national referee coordinator. Okay. So we're going through the certification and recertification of national referees right now. So I'll also be checking my email, the NYSOA account, and my own account to make sure that I'm catching up on all the paperwork that needs to be done and getting the badges mailed out. So pretty busy life. Usually try to stop about 9 or 9:30, and then that's it. But then you get to the weekend part, and watching a game or 2 games on a weekend, and then the actual assessment of a video. You think you just watch the game, but you're watching. You stop. You take your notes. Yeah. You may go back and look at a couple of things, and then you go forward again. So a 2-hour game usually takes me 3.5 to 4 hours. Yeah. And then you're making the clips. Mm-hmm. So you can send them to the referee, and Pro's got a wonderful system that allows us to make clips. So you send those to the referee so they can prepare for the debrief. And so you can have a good discussion about what happened in the match, why did they do certain things, and then get them to tell you if there's a better way to do it. And then you provide your experience and your point of view of how you would have handled the situation, or they could have handled the situation a little bit differently. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that's very extensive. And I reiterate, I don't know how you find the time, but there is apparently time. And then to explain, Pro is Professional Referee Organization. NYSOA, I don't actually know what it stands for, but that covers all collegiate referees, right?
Sort of, kind of. So it's a National Intercollegiate Soccer Officials Association. Okay. So it covers the majority of them right now, but there's also a group called ECSR. Okay. That's out there, the Elite College Soccer Referees. Okay. Manny Jr. is one of the founding members of it. But so in the midst of both of those groups, we handle all of the referees that are out there doing collegiate games for NCAA, mm-hmm. NAIA, all the way down to the club games that are played for the individual clubs. So I'll be going to NERSA in November. I love going to that tournament.
What's that?
So NERSA, maybe not each college, but most of the college has a club team.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Uh-huh. So, I don't think your college, St. Thomas had one, but like a U of H will have a varsity team, and then they'll have like this club team. Uh-huh. And they don't have scholarships. Yep. Not athletic scholarships. They may be there on an academic scholarship. Right. But they get an opportunity to play the game that they love at a little bit lower intensity level of having to be at 2-day practices and all this other crazy stuff that's involved in that. Mm-hmm. But it's a great environment to go and watch the regional championships and then the national championships. And the NERSA staff does a great job of providing an environment and the food that's there and the entertainment that's there, and then the games are going on. Just fantastic all around.
Good. That's very cool. And where did you say that it's going to be?
That'll be in Round Rock.
Okay.
The Round Rock multiplex that you're used to going to.
Yep.
Just before Thanksgiving.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I'll remind you.
Okay. Thanks. I know some friends, and they do, correct me if I'm wrong, people who are in master's programs, they're also part of that. So say they have a club team like with that master program. Yes, they will go there too. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know some people have played in those.
Yeah.
Very cool. That's nice.
Deepak's daughter played in it. Deepak's daughter and son at their universities, they played it. They played in that tournament for many years because they played club.
Yeah.
At the university versus a varsity.
Right. Okay. Yeah. And I do know a handful of friends that have done that as well. And it's very competitive. And it's nice to know that it's really it's not the people that like didn't necessarily make the varsity roster. It's people that have also really rigorous schedules with their schoolwork and they still just have a passion for the sport. So it's nice. It's not by any means less of a competitive level. I mean, that's what you think, but it can still be very competitive.
Yeah. I mean, I was asked to play back in the dark ages, back in the 80s when I was in college. They asked me to play for the club team. And I was like, no, I'm trying to be a chemical engineer. I need that time to study. Yeah. But I played on a city league team.
Oh.
So like an HFA team, but it was the Austin league that was there.
Yeah.
Had practice 2 times a week and then played every Sunday. It was a blast.
Good.
Yeah.
There you go. Let's see. Next questions. Oh, so again, a lot of people might not know, but I know that first being a referee entails a decent amount of traveling. And I'm going to assume that your position also requires a decent amount of traveling, correct?
Correct.
So do you like to travel, and what are the pros and cons to traveling?
I love traveling.
Okay.
I really do. I mean, I miss the family, miss the wife, miss the dog, miss my daughters when they're away. That's all true. But I do love traveling and going to see different places and going to see the, little bit of the tourist stuff when I'm out and about and stuff like that. Different food. That I travel for my work also. So in May, I was down in Argentina and Brazil, and they find out that I'm a referee. And next thing you know, I'm going to games.
They're just now finding this out?
When I go, no, they've known for a couple years. My best memory of that was I was down there in Brazil the same day that they had the Women's World Cup final, the Gold Cup final, which the U.S. was playing in both of those. The one was in France, I believe. Two World Cups, 2 World Cups ago. And then the Gold Cup where the U.S. was playing for the Gold Cup final. And then Brazil was playing Peru for the CONMEBOL
Lots of soccer in Brazil.
And so my friend, Leonardo, he took me to his family's party.
Oh.
And of course, it's Brazil, so I had to cheer for Brazil. I wasn't going to cheer for Peru either. Sorry, Jess. If you see this, Jess, I'm sorry about that. I was cheering for Brazil, but I was the VAR man.
Oh, really?
So if a situation occurred on the television where they were going to VAR, it was instantly Harlan.
Oh, okay.
Harlan,
You mean at the party?
At the party. So in the midst of the drinks that I was drinking, I was trying to do the VAR stuff, and of course, I was getting everything correct.
Of course,
because I always sided for Brazil. Okay,
gotcha.
Wasn't stupid.
Gotcha.
Had to get home somehow.
Smart man.
Yep. But just having a blast doing that type of stuff. But traveling is great. The bad part of traveling, it's being away from your family. Now that the family only has the one dog and stuff like that, my wife's talked about traveling with me, which is great. Just have to convince those events that I'm going to that Harlan doesn't need to have a roommate because I'll have my wife with me. So that is the bad part of it, because people think we need to skimp on cost for hotel rooms by doubling people up. Sometimes you get a good roommate, sometimes you get a bad roommate. Sometimes you get an interesting roommate. Sometimes they put people together because they think, hey, this is a good match. But we know each other well enough. And we're like, no, I don't want to be a roommate with that one. That guy snores like a freight train. Yeah. And so you take your earplugs and all that other stuff, and you hope you can make it through. Yeah, it can get very interesting. But other than that, I think that's the bad part is missing family, and then in addition to that is who do you get as a roommate on each of the trips? Yeah,
I hope the people who could help and influence are listening, because roommates matter. And I've been in, I've had a bunch of roommates too.
Yep. So. Yeah, and you and I have had that discussion about something else, right? And I do appreciate your answers on that discussion that we had.
Yeah, not going to bring it up.
Yep.
Okay, question. How do you balance the dual roles of coaching referees and then managing all the other administrative tasks? So it just seems like a lot, and it is a lot, but how do you balance it? Like, truly, how do you stay organized? You don't have an assistant, do you?
So when I was the amateur director, the 3 years I was the amateur director, it did become very difficult because you want certain referees to progress and do the final. But if you go and you watch the game and they're having a disaster for whatever reason, or you get feedback from the ref coach that you send out there to do the assessment, and they're coming back and saying, hey, we've got all these kind of issues. You got to take that on your shoulder and make that difficult decision. But then I always have that one-on-one discussion with the referee afterwards and say, this is why you didn't get what you wanted. And I'm sorry that your performance looked like this, but I can't put you on the final if you're doing this on Friday or Saturday. I can't put you on that Sunday game. Because I have, when I'm the administrative person for a tournament, I have an obligation to the teams and to the tournament staff to make sure that referee doesn't affect the outcome of the match.
Right.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. I guess we always hear actually, I don't know who I've heard this from, but it makes sense, is that if you have a good referee, you might not notice them. Correct. Fair?
And that's very fair. There's one that I truly appreciate from the state of Oklahoma. And people have overlooked that referee for many years. And every time I put him on a match, he doesn't make the disaster decision.
Perfect.
We
don't want those.
What we call the critical match incident, the penalty kick that's right or wrong, the send-off that's right or wrong, that type of stuff. Just very consistent, but he's not the big flashy person that, runs around and, can sprint from one end of the field to the other and all that other stuff. But I'll put him on any match that I have out there, and the most difficult ones, because I know that I can then leave, go do my administration stuff and come back, and I know it's okay. And I got that from a guy named Joseph Mickna, who would put a guy named David Lakin and myself on the lunch matches. So at the amateur tournament, when Joseph Mickna did the tournament, there were lunch matches. And so David would have one and I would have the other, and Joseph would take everybody else and they would go to lunch.
Okay.
So there was the referee assessor.
Yeah.
At that point, there was the national assessor, the crew that's on the field, and that's it. All the admin people had left. All the referees have left because everybody's gone to lunch. But Joseph knew that it wouldn't be a disaster. We would make our way through the game. We'd find, we wouldn't have the penalty kick, no penalty kick, the send off, no send off. And there's things for us to learn because we're not perfect.
Yeah.
There are little mistakes on a caution here, a caution there. But nothing disastrous. And he could come back and, be full of his lunch and whatever and go about his business. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting. That's funny. Whenever you said lunch match, I was thinking, what is that? That's the game that's at lunchtime.
The game that's at lunchtime.
Makes sense. Okay, let's see. Training and development wise, what are key skills and attributes that you are looking for in a referee?
Oh, part of it you can't teach. Part of it is that it factor when you can walk up to the field, and I'll go back to probably the second or third time that I saw you, Siobhan. I was out there to watch another referee. David Oram and I went over to a field to watch another referee, and you were the AR, and I said, David, look at that. That is a referee. That's somebody we can take to the future. I said, this one's going to be nice. This is always going to be your recreational referee, and we're going to love her till the day she walks off the field. But that one can go far. And then you came off the field, and first comment to me was, "You're not here to see me. I don't want to talk to you." I was like, I was just going to tell you positive stuff.
I was like, okay, fine, I'll hear it.
So I was like, okay, this one has attitude too, and is willing to defend herself. So that part is good. But it is, that is another key to what we look for in a referee. Not one that's going to slap you back in the face, but can they stand up for themselves, and can they seek that information to make themselves better?
Yeah.
From everybody, not just from the admin person that can give them the next big game.
Right.
But can they take it from each person that they've been assigned as an assessor or ref coach for their game? Can they take that information from the other referees on the field? Are they listening to the players, and are they listening to the coaches when those people are giving them the information? Okay.
Yeah.
So earlier this season, I had a referee. Last year, he and I did not get along very well. He changed his ref coach. Inside of pro, they have ref coaches. Mm-hmm. This year, we not only had a great game together where we talked about the game itself, but then he said everybody else, got off the call. And then we had another 30 minutes to an hour where we just talked about the rest of the game and what he wanted to get out of, the rest of his career.
Yeah.
Not to say that I could give it to him, but he now understood that there's a different perspective. And maybe one perspective is not always the best way. Maybe it's multiple ones that makes them a better person and not a clone of the first person.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you would suggest diversifying your coaches or mentors, right?
Yep. And listen to everybody so that you fill the toolbox fully and not just with the toolbox from one person.
Yeah.
The other thing I'll give people is fitness. Something I missed, okay, because I think I would have been a better referee as a national referee if I had started my fitness craze a little bit earlier. I waited till like the second of my 4 years as a national referee really to get a trainer and really go out there and train properly for being a referee. And what you commented about, there's a different skill set inside of that.
Yeah.
Pro referees are lucky. They've got somebody in the background that's helping with that. Mm-hmm. But truly thinking about your fitness and what you eat and how you prepare for matches is really important.
Yep. You're an athlete.
And nobody wants to see the pudgy person on the field. Players look at the referee say, that looks like an athlete or that looks like a pudgy person.
Yep, and it's true.
Yeah.
There's no sugarcoating that. And usually, it's a physical sport. It's a physical career. It matters, and it will usually reflect on your performance.
Yep.
Missing a call because you're not in the proper positioning because you couldn't get there. Simple things like that. Not being able to last a certain amount of time on, I don't know, like an adult league game versus a youth game, or not even on a youth game. Those things matter and are noted.
And the other thing I tell people is, three legs to the stool in this, personality, humility, all that stuff, the fitness part of it, but actually knowing the laws of the game. That's another part that I missed as a entry-level national referee, is really going back and reading the laws of the game. And knowing them backwards, forwards, and sideways. The Mariscal family, it's a family of referees, assistant referees, and stuff like that, have done a fantastic job of instituting that into people. when they're on the plane, they read the laws of the game.
Yeah.
So every year to prepare for the national test, I read the laws of the game in English, and I read the laws of the game in Spanish.
Nice.
And I've started to read the laws of the game in Portuguese.
Wow.
So it gives me that opportunity to see how different words may mean something different inside the laws of the game itself.
Yeah.
Okay? Now, warning.
Okay.
Don't ask me to speak Spanish and Portuguese.
No,
okay?
I wouldn't.
Conversation is not it. I can read it because it's Latin based, and that was one of the languages that we had to learn in high school was Latin.
Okay. Yeah, I wouldn't ask you to speak Spanish. I heard you 10 minutes ago say Leonardo some sort of way.
Leonardo, that's Portuguese because he's Brazilian. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Makes
Otherwise
sense.
known as Leo. Okay.
Leo, yes. Okay, good. I like that you gave me 3 stools. 3 legs for the stool. The laws of the game, I was going to mention, when you said that, my heart started racing, really because I would actually get nervous before some games, and it depends on the tournament I was going to or the type of game I was reffing. But I would freshen up, like just make sure they didn't change it for this tournament, because some of those of you who are listening might not know this, but some of the rules change. The laws change for the game. So subs or time or water break or international walkouts, little things like that, but they matter because if you don't know, you lose a little bit of credibility. And so one thing I wanted to control is what I could control is my knowledge of the laws of the game. And so, I mean, how embarrassing if I'm officiating and I'm making a wrong call because I do not know the laws. I'm supposed to know it. It's my job.
And that's what you're talking about is really the rules of competition. There's the FIFA laws of the game.
Okay.
But when we get to substitutions and maybe how they
Rules
handle overtime,
Yes.
and then also kick and penalty kicks,
Yeah.
they are allowed to make twists in those, and that shows up in the rules of competition.
Got it.
So prior to my drive over tonight, I did get a text message from Sigich, and he asked me to prepare something for right before the knockout games for the championship.
Okay.
So I'll be going over overtime and penalties
Woohoo.
to make sure people understand this is how we want to do it. This is how USY wants it done, and we need to be the exact same when we walk out there and do those in the championship matches.
Okay. So thank you for correcting me. The laws of the game do not change. Rules of competition vary depending on competition.
Correct.
Cool.
Yep.
Thank you. And I'm rusty on both of those because I haven't read those in a minute. I have a few more questions. Okay, yeah. What advice would you give to referees aspiring to reach the national level and beyond? Say this is your everyday, like this is someone reffing HFA right now. This is someone reffing youth nationals, etc.
So I would go back to that 3 legs.
Okay.
I would figure out what is my fitness program.
Okay.
That really is the passport to, and I'm using a word that Essie Bahamas kind
like
of stamped already, but
Look at you.
everybody knows Essie, and Essie always said that is your passport to be looked at, is having your fitness. Then being coachable is next. If you're not coachable, I as a referee coach give you like no seconds after that.
Yeah.
And word goes through like wildfire through the referee coach ranks of who is coachable and who is not coachable. Okay? We will tell people right away. So humble enough to listen to what somebody's saying, clarifying, making sure you clarify the question and the answer. That's okay, but challenging and saying somebody's wrong, probably not going to get you very far in your career. Okay? But then actually asking to be on assessed matches where you're going to receive that feedback from somebody who is watching the game. Because a lot of times it's not your best friend that's on the game that's going to correct you. It's somebody from the outside with an alternate view.
Yeah.
So, getting that ref coach to give you information or listening to a manager. I didn't say that part about the amateur tournaments that I ran. I would listen to the captains. The captains knew me well enough after the first year. They would come to me and say, hey, this referee can do it or this one can't. The team managers would do the same thing. There was some I would listen to. Some, of course, they're going to come and complain about everything. I'm like, oh my gosh, please just stop and leave me alone. But some of them would come to me and say, we know we lost the game, but we saw this in the referee. That's always a positive experience on that. So listening for that feedback from other people and how you perform a match is very important. And then knowing the laws of the game. Like I said, that was one of the big trip-ups for me. I don't think I cracked the book for the first 5 years until I became a national referee and studied for the first national referee exam. I don't think I read it as an 08, 07, 06, or 05. Yeah, I got through the test every year because they're easy, but I didn't know the laws of the game, and that's very important.
And did you play soccer? You did, right?
Yes. So I played in high school, junior varsity and varsity, and then I played for a city league team in Austin, and then I played some crazy little co-ed team in Beaumont when I lived there. I played, but not at a very high level.
I asked just because I feel as though having that experience as a player really helps as a referee.
I know what it feels like to receive a hard tackle, and I know exactly what it feels like to give one. Yes. And I understand also retaliation.
Yeah, me too. I understand that one.
Because I do tell the story of, one of the times I was told I needed to leave the field of play.
What are those called?
Well, that's a send-off when they give you a red card.
There you go.
Somebody shoved my goalkeeper into the post.
Okay.
And at the next corner kick, that same player ended up in the post to get in the post. And the referee was my coach, my JV coach from high school.
Oh, really?
This is when I played City League.
Okay.
And he came up to me and goes, I didn't see you do it. I just know you. And I know you did it. So here's your red card. I was like, Jamie, really? He goes, Harlan, you are the enforcer. And people look at me and they understand that I am the enforcer on any team. So nothing happens until I see something happen on the field. And then I deal with it.
The enforcer.
Yeah.
I should have called. I think I would have been named that from like U12 up to, I don't know, 20.
Yes. I still remember watching some of your St. Thomas matches and your dad's beside me at the same time. And we see that little glint in your eye, and then you start running in a certain way. And I'm like, oh, Lord, who's going to get the next tackle is going to get hurt.
Well, it wasn't to hurt. It was to sometimes revenge requires
absolutely
hurt.
You would win the ball every single time. I never saw a tackle that deserved a card.
Okay, come on.
No, I didn't.
You never saw one that does. Okay.
Not in any of the matches that I was at personally. Okay. I was provided a video one time, and I said, something must have happened somewhere else in the match that got Siobhan mad that she did something like that.
Yes, correct. And yeah, that one was not my proudest moment, but I was pushed to my limits.
Yeah.
And it was like the 96th minute of the game. Silly. But it happens to the best of us.
That's right.
And we learn from it.
Yep.
And it gives us better insight, especially if you are a referee. Okay, a few more questions. There's a lot of questions I have for you, but for time purposes, I need to cut it short at some point. Also, question: what time is your next actual obligation today?
My next 8 o'clock.
Oh, okay, we're chilling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got to deal with the Houston traffic on the Katy Freeway or West Parkway. Yeah.
I think it'll be cleared by the time.
We can only hope.
It will.
All right.
Okay, my question was, so I already asked you advice and tips. Are there any specific strategies or techniques that you would recommend to a referee for improving their performance? So if someone has a national tournament coming up soon, what would you advise them on brushing up before they attend a tournament? Like small improvements that they can work on?
Back to the fitness, make sure that you're fit, make sure you're hydrated properly, not the other stuff. Hydrating with water and Gatorade or electrolyte, Pedialyte, whatever. I understand. But then the rules of competition, absolutely knowing the rules of competition. And so, and especially if it becomes like your first professional match. I don't know how many times I've had an AR or fourth official, a referee's going to go do their very first one at a professional level.
Yeah.
And they call me up and they're like, "What do I do, Harlan?" I said, "Have you called your referee?" "No." Like, okay, call your referee. And they would tell me who it is. I was like, they're not putting you with that referee just because. Okay, this is a person that they trust with a new rookie AR or referee. So call them up and tell them that you're a rookie. This is your first one, and they will walk you through it. And it's a real blessing right now from what I see inside of the women's side of the FIFA referees. Katja, Alyssa, Tori, Alex, Natalie, Danielle are absolutely fantastic about preparing a fourth official or a new AR to walk out there on the stage the very first time. And the same thing for the male FIFA referees. Don't know how many times somebody's called me and they've got little Mandito, Armando Villarreal as their referee. And I'm like, call him up, talk to him. He doesn't want you to fail because then he fails on the field.
Yeah.
So he'll walk you through all those things. So, don't be afraid of reading the rules of competition, knowing them very well. But then if you're new to a situation, getting a hold of that referee and making sure that you walk through all the things. That's, as an assigner, we make sure that you're not out there with the newbie referee and you're the newbie fourth official. That's a disaster right away.
Yeah. I do remember as I progressed and was put on, I guess, more competitive matches that I was with people that would support me. So it wasn't just me on a random crew. It was intentional. And I didn't understand that until a little bit later, but that's good. So call your crew. Yep. Get to know them. Yeah, because it's kind of like showing up at a tournament, and even if it's just like a lackadaisy tournament, when they tell you, okay, your game's at 8 and say it's like 7:30, and then there's like, go meet your crew now. That's like meeting them 30 minutes before. And then that is usual, and like that's normal protocol for being at a tournament. But if you are further down the line and you're really looking to better yourself, reach out and get a hold of them.
Yeah, and I expect the referees that are showing up next week. So we won't play until Tuesday.
Okay.
Monday is a education day, but they're all flying on Sunday. I don't expect them to be doing a game after Thursday. They may still be doing some professional matches, but really Friday, Saturday is a rest day. They should be doing a lot of stretching, a lot of exercising, hydrating, making sure they're eating correctly, and reading those rules of competition so that they arrive on Sunday. We do a little bit of field session. There's a hint of what's going to happen on Sunday. There's a field session Sunday afternoon. Monday there's a classroom session, and Tuesday they hit the fields.
Good.
So
cool.
Yeah.
And I always love hearing this because there's so much preparation before the game. Again, some people, even the referees, so not referees, the players that show up, they don't know that there is a lot of preparation behind this. And so it's good. Yeah. I'm forgetting as well. I've been to the tournaments. I just went to some ECNL tournaments. And yeah, it's a week-long preparation, if not sometimes a month in advance, right? You can get assignments months in advance.
On the professional side, okay. and from a college referee side,
okay, you
have that opportunity to watch games and read over things that are on the media and stuff like that. But from next week, I go back to what my friend Roger Morton says, do your due diligence. Do your due diligence. All your intel work that you have, once you know your assignment, pull up who the coach is and what's their background, who are the players, how do you identify, who's going to get the ball the most, how do you identify, you can start reading through, team pages and find all that information so that and have they ever played each other before?
Yeah.
and what was that score and stuff like that. That's the internet has been fantastic about that. Back in the dark ages, we didn't have that.
You're going off your diaries and word of mouth.
We would call each other if we could figure out who did the game before.
Okay.
But
wow.
That's the only way we got intelligence work out of each other versus looking at the internet. Yeah,
I cannot remember who told me or who advised me on looking up teams and coaches. It might have been you. It probably was, but those matter. Those details really matter, especially if you're getting serious about reffing, because it's context. I think you threw out an example one time. You said girls' games are funny because when one makes some sort of tackle against another one, and then had nothing to do about soccer. It's something to do about personal life.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And you'll know because the vengeance is real. But that's important to look up the teams, look up if they have a history, look up if they are rivals, look up if they played each other, look up, who's booked or who's sitting out from that match, if that is a thing. What's going on in that time, it depends. Is it a final? Is it a relegation match? Whatnot. The details matter.
That always leads me to my funniest story about refereeing women, a man refereeing a women's match.
Oh, let's hear it.
So back in New Orleans, there was a women's league.
Uh-huh.
And once a season, these two teams would play each other, Mudbugs versus Calypso.
Oh.
And when that happened, Miss Glenda would call two referees, either myself or her son Glenn.
Okay.
And say, you're coming to do the match. Now, we're national. Usually it's like a grade 8 referee that's going out there to do the match. But here's these national referees, and we show up to do the match. But Miss Glenda's already primed us with what's going to happen in the match, what happened in the last match, who's going to foul who doesn't like who, for whatever reason. You can take your guess from it and all that other stuff, and what's happening off the field. And so we are well prepared. And lo and behold, 5 seconds into a match, whack. And there I am with the red card immediately, 5 seconds in the match. I was like, and they're like, well, wait a second. We didn't get the rest of it. I said, y'all can foul each other all you want, but you can't be doing stuff like this.
Wow.
So, yeah.
So you think, obviously the context helped for you in that situation, but my other, something on that genre is, do you think that having context is sometimes works in reverse? So if you know how a person is, for me, for example, I would show up to a game, I see a referee, make eye contact, and I'm thinking, shit, they booked me 2 weeks ago. They're going to think that I'm probably going to do or say something again. And that works against my favor because maybe I just had a bad game, or maybe I'm in a good mood today, or I don't know, maybe I've had a stern talking to. But do you think that is helpful or not helpful?
It's matter how the referee handles it. Understanding if a player can take physical contact or not. I'm going to just use that as an example.
Yeah.
But you got to be careful that you don't allow that to be different from what else is happening on the field. And that'll be a discussion tonight at the 8 o'clock debrief. Is there was a player that came on as a substitute, African, and he's well known for physical play on the field, and there was a little bit more contact than what was going on in the rest of the match. And so we'll have a talk about why did you treat this player differently than the rest of the players on the field.
Got it.
Okay? Just because he can take it doesn't mean that you need to change just for this isolated event that's going on inside of this big match. Everything's got to be consistent, not just this one little spot.
Yeah. And consistency is very important in officiating. For those of you who do not know, that is the goal, to be consistent.
Yep.
So,
because you never know who else may be the enforcer that then gets upset because he sees inconsistency and now he's got to send a message.
Yes,
right?
Exactly. Yeah. And that's where, as a referee, you quote unquote lose the game or you lose control, and you've got to tie it up or tighten things up to regain it if it's salvageable.
Yep.
Ooh. Did you watch the Uruguay versus Colombia game?
Yes, I did. Very interesting.
Yeah, a lot going on.
A lot going on, yeah.
Yeah. That was just my question. I'm not going to dive into that one.
Yeah, let's not go to, yeah.
No, I won't. Okay, just a few more. So something behind the scenes. What are some misconceptions people often have about the work of referee coaches? Maybe an opinion, but
some people, the referees think that we're ruining their entire careers, that type of thing.
okay.
You get into that of, that person just hates me all the time. When we sit down and have our discussions afterwards, there's typically never a hatred for a referee. We want to see them develop. We get excited about, somebody that's had adversity inside of a game and then comes back and really performs strong the next game. We love to see that. But we're not there to try to trip anybody up. But you hear a lot of that from the referees of, that ref coach will never like me. Mm-hmm. No, we just have a different view. And yeah, we want to see you succeed. And when we see you succeed, we get excited. We may not come and hug you afterwards.
Yeah.
When we see you succeed, but we will hug you if you come and say, "Hey, I really appreciate that you dealt with this, this issue that I had, and now I've improved from it." We get a lot of that.
That's funny though. I heard the part that you said, maybe you didn't say they're out to get me, but that's what it made me think, because sometimes there's players that will say this referee's out to get me. Never, when I've officiated, thought, where's that number 7 with the blue cleats? Want to make sure I get him next time. No, there's so many other players. There's so much more going on. That's not my motive or what I'm thinking. So I guess in a similar way, there's hopefully not coaches that are out to get referees. No, you're there to help them succeed.
That's right.
And that's the goal. It is hard for people to be coachable. I know that people are interesting. and people have egos, myself including.
Oh, absolutely. And myself, I'll be the first one to admit I had a very long time it was very hard for me to take feedback. It's easy for me to give it, but I also like to get that feedback, and then I would sit back and I would reflect on it afterwards, even though I may have been mad and not listening, thinking hey, he's not listening to me right now.
Yeah.
But I would go back and sit and say, okay, well, how could I have improved?
Yeah.
What are the things that made me that I could do better inside of this situation?
Yeah, I think same. I am pretty stubborn of a human.
No.
I like to think that I've toned it down. But yeah, I love giving feedback. Getting feedback, I want to hear it anyway. Even if I agree or not, I would like to hear. And then I can sit with it, let it marinate, and then decide if I agree or not. And then get other opinions as well.
That is one thing I love about you, Siobhan. You're going to live your life your way, right? But you will listen to people as they provide you advice on things, and
yeah, maybe
it works, maybe it doesn't for you.
Yeah, and if it's honestly, there have been times where it's a rude awakening. If it's consistent across the board, I'm thinking, okay, fine. Maybe there is something I need to change, or I need to look at it a different way, or if I'm getting the same feedback, or if I'm getting the same outcomes, what can I do to change it now?
Yeah.
I'll say that. Last few questions. I wanted to talk about the technology of refereeing, because whenever we started introducing VAR and things like goal line technology, whenever we watch, just as someone who likes to watch football on the weekends or see a game, what is your opinion of technology intervention? Do you like it? Do you not like it? And obviously there are pros and cons. Would you address them and how you feel about them?
Let me be point blank to anybody who watches on EPL has messed it up. VAR. Okay. Sorry. There it is. But if you watch the MLS matches, if you watch NWSL matches, the Americans are doing it correctly.
Okay.
That's because of Greg Barkey.
Okay.
And Barkey, if you see this, that is an honest statement, because he's also hired out to go him and Mark Geiger do the FIFA tournaments with the Italians.
Okay.
I will say it has changed the referees that can do the matches. Because if you look at Pierluigi Collina would never have been able to referee a match and have VAR. That's not his style. He was the commander on the field, and there was nobody going to second guess him on the field or up in a booth.
Okay.
But as the leader of FIFA, the FIFA referees, it's a totally different story. I mean, he is, he clearly supports them, and he's, they're giving them advice and stuff like that. But I don't think he would have been successful as a referee in the VAR era. So it does take a different personality to have that person second guess you. Then you have to go to the screen, and then you have to show that composure of changing your decision and go back out there on the field. That is a different person than the original referees that are out there without VAR that were successful.
Right.
Okay. So it does take a different personality, and it does take that, what we talked about earlier about taking feedback, being humble about things. But then now you've got to take that information and go and present it and sell it to everybody else that I made a mistake. It's clear and obvious, and this should be the right decision. So,
this might be more of a social question, but would you rather keep the love of the game and the flow of the game, talking pre-technology, or would you rather get the correct decision?
I would rather have the correct decision if it's clear and obvious.
Okay.
Okay?
If it's clear and obvious.
If it's clear and obvious. Sometimes our VAR reviews take too long, and so it's not clear and obvious. So don't continue to look at it forever. But if it corrects a decision on the field that changes that really should change the outcome of the game for the right reason, I see the players accepting it more that way.
Yeah.
If it doesn't correct that clear and obvious decision, you can still see that frustration inside of them. The other thing I'd like them to stop doing is offside decisions, where the toenail is offside.
I can see the line.
That just drives me nuts.
Well, you can score with a toenail.
I understand. But that is not... I agree with a lot of the other people who say that was not the reason for VAR.
Right.
They're looking for the clear and obvious half the body or the body in front.
Clear and obvious.
That's what we're looking for with that clear and obvious, hey, it's really offside versus onside decision.
Yeah. Okay. I can see that. And then that part would, I would like that. And I would respect that more. I think it's just too many pauses. And I think I even saw something where, is the MLS doing this when they're doing what NFL is doing, where they have a little microphone and then they're making an announcement to the stadium? We're doing that?
MLS is now doing that, yeah.
Is this a trial run or they're doing it full send?
They're doing it full time.
Wow. What's it called? What are we calling that?
I don't remember.
What a time.
Yeah.
I never envisioned a time like that.
Yeah. I will say as a pro assessor, I assess using VAR. So I'm given the backgrounds. I'm given all the screens. I get to hear what the referees are saying and stuff like that. I get to hear the VAR through the whole thing. So,
cool.
yeah.
Interesting.
That is fun.
That
no,
sounds...
Siobhan, I can't let you come watch the game and listen to that.
Send me a link or how do I
no,
tap in?
No.
That would be cool though.
It is fun from the standpoint, now you hear what they're saying. And that's one thing we've always asked for is we want to know what they're saying on the field.
Yeah.
Not from the standpoint of, we can visually you see it.
Yeah.
It's right or wrong.
Yeah.
It's right there. You can't hide from the camera. But what they say and what their thought process is afterwards and their communication with each other really becomes key.
Okay. I have a few more questions before we conclude this, and it's going to be popcorn questions.
Okay.
One, what advice would you give to a referee who is struggling with making a decision in a timely manner?
Go with your gut.
Go with your gut.
Yeah.
Yeah. It seems easy, right? Go with your gut. Okay. Fair enough. What would you? No, yeah. What are 3 items you would recommend a referee always have extra of?
Extra of
Yeah.
a second watch, maybe just a watch in the first place instead of your phone.
A second watch.
A second whistle. I know I've dropped my whistle before. And a second pair of cards.
Second pair of cards.
Because you never know when somebody's going to take the card away from you and tear it and throw it.
Has that happened to you?
Not to me.
Have you seen
To
it?
somebody else. Oh, yeah.
Tear it.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
My cards, I think, have always been plastic.
This one was plastic too, but the player was that furious with receiving a yellow card in the match. Of course, he then received, the other
card.
yellow card
The
from
other
the
one.
other pocket and the red card
there you
too.
go.
So,
Okay.
yeah.
That's funny. What, this is going to be a bad question, but what color would you advise a referee not to wear?
Black.
Why? Heat?
I only wear black when I am in mourning for somebody in the referee community that passes away.
Okay.
And at night, you can't see anybody.
Yeah.
That's the other issue with black. And I wear long sleeves and stuff like that. Wear a bright color. There's 4 other colors to choose from. I know some people have the pink color. Great. That's wonderful.
To go with the pink watch.
Yeah. Yellow, green, blue, and red. Those are perfectly acceptable colors. Wear black when we have a reason for mourning somebody, and don't do it on a night game unless you absolutely have to.
Okay. Last question. You mentioned there are 3 legs to the stool, one being fitness, one being knowing the laws of the game, and the other one having it. If you don't have it, or you don't know if you have it, or don't think you have it, how would you suggest one gain it, even though you did mention that you don't think it can be?
Well, it really is the seat on the stool that elevates you a little bit more.
Okay.
Really, it's the personality to be coachable should be the third leg.
Okay.
Okay, and having that humbleness and that ability to take feedback.
Yeah.
So that humbleness, the laws of the game, and the fitness, and then there's going to be people who have it.
Yeah.
And we all know those people. I mean, I'm looking at one right now. Sorry, but there's always going to be those referees that you walk by the field and you say, "Wow, that person's got it," and you stop and you watch for a while, but then they blow it because they have an ego. They're not humble.
Right.
Right.
Lose fitness.
The one leg of the stool is gone from the it. Right. They may not be fit. They may look fit, and there's plenty of them that look really great, but can't make it 60 minutes into a match because they don't have the liquid, the hydration in their system in order to make it their way completely through a match.
Yeah.
Okay. Or they don't know the laws of the game and they make a decision on the field and it's like, why didn't you know that that's what happens on a goal kick? You improperly put the ball back in play. You can't do that.
Yeah. Okay, great. I do like that. Now I have a stool in my mind, and it's applicable to really anything. Well, thank you. I normally conclude with giving you the floor to say some sort of quote, give a shout out, whatever you'd like to say. So if you have anything now, the time is yours.
I really appreciate this opportunity to be on the podcast with you, Siobhan. When you called me up that one time, we were talking with my daughter about it, and we went to the coffee shop and stuff like that. It really, it showed me the growth in you over the many years that you and I have known each other. The appreciation for you being Siobhan, and how proud I am for you being Siobhan. The little player, and all the decisions you've made. Well, you may have made me mad, but you were pursuing a dream that was different from what I wanted, and you pursued it with integrity. You pursued your studies and getting your degree like you're supposed to. You pursued your passion of being a professional player and going to the different places and really putting yourself out there. So when you called me up to come do this or text me or however the communication went, I was like, yeah, I got to go. I got to go and support her and the things that she is doing. So
I really appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Thank you. And I've been wanting, I had a list from the very beginning. I've been wanting to have more members of the referee community on here because I would like to bring more awareness to them as athletes and what the mindset is behind that as well. Because of course, sports and mindset is my thing, or what I'm really passionate about. And so I hope that whoever's listening gains something from this, whether you are a referee or not. And just, or if maybe if you're a chemical engineer and you can say, you think your job is hard, you can do it all.
We could talk about all the engineers I mentor. Yeah, that's.
Yeah. But thank you so much. Again, thank you for taking the time. This is why you are my number 2 dad. And I really appreciate it. And thank you very much again.
You're welcome.
Thanks.
Anytime.
Happy Thursday, everyone, because the show airs on a Thursday. And bye.